Okay, good morning, my lovely, lovely friends. It is reading RTI time. It is 8:21. Thank you to all of you that are on time. You rock my socks. In reading RTI, I've already started sending emails to those of you that have missing assignments. So if you get an email from me about a missing reading RTI assignment, get it done. If you don't get an email from me, well, then go you. You don't have any missing reading RTI assignments. Some of you did not do your homework from yesterday. That's a problem. It was due before this started. I just want to quickly go over these answers. If you're one of those people that hasn't bothered to do it yet, you better get it done ASAP or Rooney. So the answer to the first question, what did his pretend family name him? They named him Clarence. Remember that silly stinking name? And he's like, why the heck did they name me Clarence? They couldn't name me anything else. His pretend mother gave him brown sugar for his, I'm going to sit this way. His pretend mother gave him brown sugar for his oatmeal. Why can't Miss Hill help Bud, and where is Miss Hill now? Some of you missed points because you didn't answer both these questions. Miss Hill can't help Bud because she's no longer in Flint. She got married and is now in Chicago, Illinois. Who found Bud underneath the Christmas trees? Bugs. Remember, he had his jackknife out. He was ready to stab someone, but then it was just Bugs. What is Hooverville? Hooverville is that little shanty cardboard jungle town where the homeless people are living. Well, they're not really homeless. They live in these cardboard homes, but that's where they congregate. There's like one in every single city. Most of the people in Hooverville were planning to catch the what? The train. The train. Why did the policeman throw, that's supposed to say down. I said done. Sorry. Their hats, and I also spelled their wrong. Oh my goodness. Don't mind Mrs. Knifel's mistakes. My bad. Throw down their hats and clubs and stop protecting the train. Because there was only 8 police officers and there was, like 400 plus men. So they didn't like those odds. They were like, yeah. Goodbye. I don't get paid enough for this. And how far away is Grand Rapids from Flint? It is about 120 miles. Okay. If you said 24 hours, you had to say it was a 24-hour walk. Because Grand Rapids to Flint is not 24 hours, okay? It is like a few hours in a car. So there's that. If you didn't do that assignment, I already messaged you this morning and said, get it done, okay? So I will be finishing sending out emails to those of you that have late assignments in reading RTI because we just need to get those done, okay? Yeah, we need to get those done. So we are going to start off reading. Woot, woot. Mrs. Kneifel loves this book so much. We are on chapter 10, which is page 96. Remember, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go find, he's going to go west. He's going to go find who he thinks is his dad, Herman E. Calloway. He's going to go west, okay? And he says it's about a 24-hour walk from Grand Rapids, or from Flint to Grand Rapids. But just think, you probably can't keep up that pace of 5 miles an hour. But nevertheless, we're going to start reading. Chapter 10. Flint ended all of a sudden, and I was in the country. It was like one of those days that it's raining on one side of the street, but not on the other. Here you have Flint and a sidewalk. You take one baby step, and you have country and a dirt path. On the sidewalk side, the sign said you are leaving Flint. Hurry back. On the dirt path side, you are now entering Flint. Enjoy your stay. So I'm sure you guys have seen, when you're in your parents' car, whoever's car, you've seen those signs when it's like, oh, you're entering LaPorte County now, or oh, now entering Westville or whatever. So even in the Great Depression, they had signs like those. You're leaving Flint or you're joining Flint. And he's saying that Flint is like more like a city, it's like a town, there's stuff. And now he's all of a sudden in the country and there's just like nothing around. I jumped in and out of Flint 7 times before that got boring. And I decided I better head for Grand Rapids. It was already very, very dark. And unless things were different in the country, it wasn't going to be getting light anytime soon. 120 miles. It didn't take too much time before I figured out that 24 hours worth of walking was a lot longer than I thought it would be. I must have only been walking for a couple of minutes when everything changed. Oh, snap. Change. We don't like that. First off, there were sounds. Flint could be pretty noisy with the cars honking and the trucks with no mufflers on their shifting gears and people yelling at each other, so you couldn't tell if they were happy or busting out fighting. Out here in the country, the sounds were loud too, but I was hearing But what I was hearing were the sounds of bugs and toady frogs and mice and rats playing a dangerous, scaredy kind of hide and go seek where they rustle around and try to keep away from each other or try to find each other. Instead of being tagged and called it like the way human beings, remember human beings when it's that's not how it's spelled, play the game out here, one they got and get ate up. Every step I took towards Grand Rapids, I could hear the sounds of mouse bones and bug skeletons being busted up by the teeth of bigger things. So he's saying the noise from the country and from like the city slash town of Flint are way different. In the town, there he's hearing normal things, cars, trucks. He's hearing people shouting, but in the country, which he's not used to, he's hearing bugs and he's hearing rodents running around. Just think if hopefully you guys don't walk around in the middle of the night. But if you've ever walked around in the middle of the night in the country, I must say, when Mrs. Kneifel was a teenager, I definitely did that a few times. You're hearing some weird noises. You're hearing every single little fly buzzing around. And, you're just hearing those crazy things. So he's not used to hearing these sounds. That's why he's pointing them out. He's like, oh my gosh, what are all these noises? Every once in a while, a couple of cats would give out a kind of howl and yowl that would make the hair on your neck jump up if you were a human being and your heart turn in a little cup of shaky yellow custard if you were a mouse. I walked and walked and walked. Some of the time, a car would come by and I'd have to duck into the bushes and wait till it had passed. So I don't think I was doing any 5 miles an hour. All right. Would someone like to tell me why he has to duck into bushes when there's a car coming by? Anyone? Olive, do you want to unmute yourself and tell me why you think he's got to duck into bushes when a car's coming by?
Because he doesn't want to get caught.
Right, yeah. Remember, he's 10 years old. Remember, there's still some segregation going on in the world. It is the Great Depression. So he is a young African-American boy walking on streets in the middle of the night. He would probably look a little bit suspicious to cars. So he's just like, oh snap, a car, got a duck so this car can't find me. Technically he's on the lam, remember? For all we know, the police are looking for him because he ran away from his foster home. We don't know. So he can't be, seen by cars in the middle of the night just walking around. Any car that would see a kid in the middle of the night walking around would be concerned. So he knows car, got a duck. So that time he's spending ducking, he's not walking. So he's like, I'm not getting a 5 miles an hour in, which means this is going to keep on taking longer and longer. We're on page 98. I felt like I'd been walking all night, but I'd only gone through 3 little towns. I was getting so tired that I started to forget to duck in the bushes when a car roared by. Some of the times they'd see me and step on their brakes for a second, then speed off. Most of the time, they never noticed me. That's good. Good thing they didn't notice him. Another car bounced over the top of a hill. The lights blinded me for a second, then I ducked into the bushes again. The guy in the car stepped on the brakes to slow down. I could see him twist his neck around. He stuck the car in reverse and pulled to a stop about 30 giant steps away from where I was hiding. His door opened and he stepped out and started walking slow towards my bushes. Okay, so someone saw him and they literally stopped their car. We don't know who this person is. We don't know what they're going to do. So now there's someone looking for him. Okay, think, it could be dangerous. So suspense right now is what Mrs. Kneifel's feeling. Oh, snap. He brushed his hands over his head and put on a black hat like kind of the police or some army men wear. But all the cops I'd ever seen wore white, so I knew this guy must be a soldier. He stepped and put his fingers to his lips and whistled. The whistle was so loud that it made me duck down and put my hands over my ears, and it felt like he'd blown it right inside my head. All the bugs and toady frogs shut right up. They quit chasing and biting each other because this had to be the loudest whistle they'd ever heard too. Rocks were crushing as the man in the black hat walked a couple of steps up the road, then stopped again. For a second time, he blasted my ears with that whistle. The noise-making critters in the patch of the road got quiet. He said, "Say hey." He waited, then yelled, "Say hey." I know my eyes aren't what they used to be, but I know they aren't so bad that they'd lie to me about seeing a young brown-skinned boy walking along the road just outside Owassa, Michigan at 2:30 in the morning. So this guy's just talking to himself. He's like, hey, I know my eyes ain't what they used to be, but I know I saw someone. I couldn't tell if he was talking to me or to himself. I peeked up to see if I could get a better look at this man. He came closer to me, then stopped about 10 giant steps away. And I'm going to tell you, I've seen some things out of place before. And a young brown-skinned boy walking along the road just outside Owassa, Michigan at 2:30 in the morning is definitely not where he ought to be. In fact, what is definite is that neither one of us should be out here at this time of night. He squatted down and said, "Are you still there?" I raised my head a little higher to get a better look at him and his big car. He'd left the door open, and I could hear the engine of the car grumbling. It was saying, wugga, 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 wugga. "Son," he said, "this is no time to play. I don't know, and I don't care why you're out here. But let me tell you, I know you're a long way from home. Are you from Flint?" How could he tell I was from Flint just by seeing my face for a second in his headlights? I was wondering how grown folks know so doggone much just by looking at you. I'm sure that's happened to you before. You just, you're like, how the heck do, grown-ups know just by looking at me? Sometimes, like, I can just look at you guys in class and know, hey, they're not doing the right thing or something like that. Grown-ups, we just know, okay? Someday when you're a grown-up, you'll just know things too, and it'll be fabulous. Something was telling me to answer him, but I still wanted to get a better look. He stood up. "You know what? I bet if you can't get to come out and talk, I got something that might make you show your face. From the quick look I got at you, you seem a little on the puny side. I'll bet anything you're hungry. Just so happens that I have a spare bologna and mustard sandwich and an apple in the car. You interested?" Shucks, how did he know I was so hungry? Then he said, "Might even have some extra red pop." Before my brain could stop it, my stomach made my mouth yell out, "I don't like mustard, sir." The man could tell which bush I was hiding in, but he didn't bum rush them or try to get me. He just laughed and said, "Well, I didn't check, but I don't suppose the mustard's been glued on. I bet we can scrape it off. What do you say?" Okay, so just from these headlights, he was able to tell the color of Bud's skin, that he's African American, and he was also able to tell that he's this little string bean skinny guy, which, means he's probably hungry. Because remember, it's the Great Depression. You don't have a lot of money. There's definitely probably not really obese people during the Great Depression because there's just not extra food to be sparing all the time. So he's literally so hungry that he couldn't even stop himself from saying, "Hey, I don't like mustard, but he wants this food." That ever happened to you guys? You don't like some mustard? Mrs. Knifel likes mustard, but I don't like bologna. So, and in real life, don't be ever taking food from strangers, okay? Remember, this is a story, and this is a long time ago in 1936, okay? It's 2020. Don't ever take food from strangers. Just a little sidebar. Mrs. Knifel wanted to shoot out for you. I was careful of talking to him this time so he couldn't track where I was. I turned my head and talked sideways out of my mouth like one of those ventriloquists. Anyone know what a ventriloquist is? Can someone type it in the chat if you know what a ventriloquist is? I guess I should open up my chat. What's a ventriloquist? They use dummies, no clue. Well, don't type it if you don't know. Mackenzie's on the right track. Yeah. So a ventriloquist is a person who has a dummy or a doll or a puppet, whatever you want to call it. And, they make the mouth of the puppet talk but they're the ones talking, not moving their lips. So they're like, I can't do it because I got to move my mouth when I talk. But they're like, they have this talent that they can talk with their mouth closed. So it looks like the puppet is talking, but really they're the ones talking. It's really cool. People that are good at it. A few years ago, there was a girl on, I think it was America's Got Talent, and she was like an amazing ventriloquist. She could like sing whole songs with her mouth closed, which is super impressive. Try yourself. Like right now, say something with your mouth closed. "Hi, how are you?" It's really hard to do without moving your mouth. So, Yeah, ventriloquist. They say things with a puppet or dummy, whatever you want to call it, without moving their mouth. It's super cool to see. Mrs. Kneifel can't do it. Okay, I'm not a ventriloquist. All right, we need to get moving because Mrs. Kneifel is just Darcy Lynn. That is her name. Yeah. Okay, whoosh. All right, getting with it. Da-na-na-na-na. Just leave them on the side of the road and I'll get them. And please open the bottle of pop, sir. I don't have a bottle key on me. Ooh, open up the bottle of pop. What do you mean? Back in the day, 1936, the pop bottles are going to be made out of glass. They're not plastic and screw on like we have. They have like a metal top on the glass, and you have to get a little like bottle opener and crack it open. So he's saying, hey, open up that bottle for me. Otherwise, he'd have no way to drink it. He squatted back down and said, oh, no, can't do that. The deal is I feed you, you show me your face. From the way the man talked, he seemed like he was okay. And before my brain could stop it, my stomach told the rest of me to slide my suitcase deeper in the weeds and walk out. The man stayed squatted down and said, I knew I saw something. A deal's a deal, so I'm going to get you your food, all right? Yes, sir. He stood up, turned his back to me, then ducked inside the car. A second later, he came back with a brown paper bag and a big bottle of red pop. Here it is. He stood there acting like I was going to have to come over to him and get it. Could you put it down, sir? And I'll eat them, and you keep driving, sir. He laughed again. Thanks for your concern, but I've got a little time to spare. With him standing there in the dark, dangling the bottle of red pop in his right hand and the red taillights of the car behind him shining through the bottle, it looked like the reddest red in the world. I walked right up to the man like I was hypnotized. I forgot all my manners and reached right out. He raised the bottle over his head. Hold on now. Could I have some pop, sir? He smiled. That's not why I said hold on. I said it because we have some talking to do first. My eyes left the bottle and looked at the man. His hat wasn't a cop hat or a soldier hat. It was the kind of cap men who drive fancy cars for rich folks. It wasn't black, it was red. He said, I've got a problem and I need you to help me figure it out. Uh-oh. What he just said is another one of Bud Caldwell's rules and things for having a funner life and making a better liar out of yourself. This was number 87. We haven't heard of rules and things for a little bit. So number 87. When an adult tells you they need your help with a problem, get ready to be tricked. Most of the time, this just means they want you to go fetch something for them. Anyone ever, well, I've probably asked you guys, oh, let me help you, answer this question for me. Mrs. Kneifel already knows the answer, okay? But then I have you guys answer it for me, Adults do that all the time. They're like, oh, can you help me with this? But really, they don't need help. They just want you to join in with them. Happens all the time. The man said, my problem is I'm not quite as brave as you are. I'm feeling very, very uncomfortable standing on the side of the road just outside Owasta, Michigan at 2:30 in the morning. And the sooner you can put my mind at ease about what you're doing out here, the sooner we can both go about our business, okay? I nodded. He waited a second, then nodded too. I nodded back. He said, well, I was too gone tired and hungry to think of a good lie. Nothing, sir. He looked disappointed. What's your name, son? Bud. Not Buddy, sir. Now, that's an unusual name. Did you run away from home, Bud, not Buddy? I could tell this guy was poking fun at me, but I answered anyways. Yes, sir. Okay, that's a start. He handed me the bottle of pop. He must have had it sitting on ice in the car. It was cold and sweet and delicious. A couple of seconds, he pulled the bottle away from my mouth. Hold on. Don't belt it all down in the first pull. There's plenty here. I slowed way down. Okay, Bud, you ran away from home. Where is that? I don't know if it was because the red pop juicing up my brain or because I was such a good liar, but one of those things got me thinking again real quick. The first thing I knew that no matter what I told this man wasn't going to let me stay out here by myself. But the nervous way he kept looking around was making things seem so scary that not staying out here was okay. The second thing I knew was that I couldn't tell this man about the home or the Amoses. I wasn't about to let him take me back to either one of those. The man said, where's home, Bud? So imagine they're both chilling in the middle of the night, 2:30 in the morning, and this man is like looking around like, okay, we got to get out of here. Like he's looking nervous, and when you see an adult looking nervous, you as a child naturally get nervous too. You're like, okay, they're nervous. I should be nervous. Or even Mrs. Kneifel. When I see other people nervous, I'm like, I should be nervous too. Another jolt of red pop must have pumped through my heart because my brain came up with the perfect lie. I ran away from Grand Rapids, sir. See how perfect that lie was? Maybe this guy would feel sorry for me and put me on a bus to Grand Grand Rapids, and I wouldn't have to do any more doggone walking. Ooh, what a good lie. Where's Bud from? He's from Flint. But where does he want to go? Grand Rapids. So he told this guy, oh yeah, I'm from Grand Rapids, hoping the guy will help him get to Grand Rapids where he's not actually from. So go Bud. He's such a thinker, okay? Instead of being like, yeah, I'm from Flint, where he'd end up again, he's like, ooh, yeah, Grand Rapids. Yeah, maybe you can help me get there. Bud, good liar. Go him. He must have some money. Anyone driving a car like this would have to be rich or at least know somebody who was rich. The man stretched under the back of his hat and said, Grand Rapids? He said like that was the most unbelievable thing in the world. Like you'd need to put 6 exclamation points after it. Something about the way he said it made me nervous, but I answered, yes, sir. That's the bad thing about lying. Once you say one, you've usually got to stick with it. I'm sure you've all heard that once you tell one lie, you got to tell more. And that's why you shouldn't lie, because then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it can just get out of control. Well, I'll be, said the man. That's where I'm from. I left there not an hour and a half ago. He snatched the bottle out of my hand, grabbed my arm, walked into the passenger side of the car, and started to open the door. I was glad I was going to get in a ride, but I said, sir, I left my suitcase over in the bushes. Can we please get it? See, my eyes aren't near as bad as I thought they were. I knew you had a box or something. But nah, buddy, you don't know how lucky you are I came through here. Some of these Ottawa folks used to have a sign hanging along here that said, I'm going to clean up the language for you. But it said, to our Negro friends who are passing through, kindly don't let the sun set on your rear end in Ottawa. So that means the town he was about to walk through is not a fan of African American people. So for a young African American person to be walking through the town in the middle of the night would not have been good for Bud. So the old man is like, hey, you're lucky I found you when I found you. Otherwise, you could have been in a world of trouble. Because remember, 1936, it's not like it is now. He must not have trusted me because he kept holding my arm. We went over to the bushes. I grabbed my suitcase, then he walked me back to the car. When he opened the passenger side door, I could see there was a big box sitting on the front seat. The man never let go of my arm, wrestled the box over to the back seat. If he would have let go of my arm for just 1 second, I would have ran like the devil chasing me. On the side of the box, some big red letters said as clear as anything, urgent. Contains human blood. Oh, snap. So this man found him on the side of the road, and now he's got a box in his car that says contains blood, human blood at that point. So he's like, what the heck? Like, who found me? Why is there blood? Oh, my goodness. Oh, man, here we go again. My heart started jumping around in the stomach. The only kind of people who carry human blood around in their car are vampires. They must drink it if they were taking long trips and couldn't find any people to get blood from. This guy figured he'd rather have my fresh blood than blood out of a bottle. I barely heard him say, get in. I'm going back to Grand Rapids tomorrow. I'll send a telegram to your folks and then take you back. Then he made his first mistake. He let go of my arm. I slid into the car. He closed the door behind me. Quick as anything, I locked the door and crawled over to the driver's side of the car, pulled the door closed and locked it. Just as the vampire reached for the handle to get in, I dug around in my pocket and pulled my knife out and put it under my leg. I put my hands on the steering wheel and looked at the gear shift to try to figure out which was go. I stretched my legs out as far as they could reach and could just get to the gas pedal. I pulled the gear level down and the car took off with the vampire running as hard as he could catch me. Wow. If I kept these things up, I would knock Babyface Nelson off the FBI's 10 most wanted list. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, this book is just my stinking favorite. So, chapter 10. He's walking, having a grand old time. Life is good. Not really. It's not good, but he's having a grand old time walking. This man found him. Okay, it's good this man found him, though, because he was about to walk through a town full of people that wouldn't be so nice to him. But he gets to the car. Oh, my gosh. There's apparently human blood in the car. That's weird. So Bud locks the man out of the car.
Just to go show why you shouldn't get into the car with strangers. They could be vampires.
And, 1936, not everyone has cars. His mama definitely probably didn't have a car. So does he know how to drive a car? No, Bud doesn't know how to drive a car. Oh my goodness. This is just killing me. Okay. So he's taken off. So we're going to have to stop there on chapter 10. Haha, you're not going to want to know. You're going to have to join me tomorrow to find out what happens in chapter 11. I am going to post a small review question on Google Classroom in about 1 minute. And for review, so I know you actually watched the recording or joined me. It is due by tomorrow. So I'm going to post something, so it will be your homework for you, but it'll be one quick chapter 10 review question. But I'm telling you, I just love this book so much. It cracks me up. I cannot wait to read it again with you guys tomorrow. So right now, in 1 second, I'm going to actually, while I'm on here, I'll just type the question, and everyone needs to answer it by tomorrow.
But this just goes to show to never get into a car with someone because they could be vampires.
Right, they could be vampire. Okay. So please answer the question in a complete sentence. All right, it's going to be worth 3 points for capital letter punctuation and correct answer. It is due by class tomorrow. One quick question. So it is due by 8:20. Well, I'm going to say 8:19 a.m. tomorrow. And of course, the recording will be posted. It says, what does the box in the man's car say on it? So you're going to have to go find in that chapter and go tell me, what does the box say? All right. Please answer that question. Thank you for joining me. This recording will be posted. Bye. See you later.